Game Plan, reviving gaming finance with Web3.
Fabulous. So this topic is all about game plan, reviving gaming finance with Web3. So we touched on Web3 on the previous panel, but this time we have our amazing moderator of Oliver de Bono, who is the CEO of Quantum Gaming. We also have Amir, who is the CMO of Sixpack Miner. We have Dinos, who is the COO of Alternar. And we have Dmitry, the founder and CEO of Belianin.com. So amazing, guys. Have a fabulous panel. Come and sit down, everyone. Oliver, please take it away.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Lily. I'm really happy to be here. I absolutely love SiGMA Dubai. I think it's definitely one of the most entertaining shows, especially with so much changes coming to the MENA region. Today, we're talking about reviving gaming finance. And what does this mean? It's a very vague question. Simply, businesses today coming out of a Web 2 world, moving into Web 3. I think, from my experience looking at the giants in the market today, those who have readily adopted Web 3 are leading the game. And I think this is something that we're here to talk about to understand. What is the delay? Why hasn't every Web 2 business in the world gone, you know what, let's go Web 3, let's integrate crypto solutions, let's integrate blockchain solutions. And the real question is why. Amir, we actually kicked off this in our initial discussion, and I want to start with you, because you proposed probably the best question right now is, you know, how does a business actually prepare for the Web 3 revolution?
Yes. First of all, I'm very glad to be here with this gentleman. When we speak about Web 2 industry, we should understand why is the gap between Web 2 and Web 3 is huge. And that gap is built by fear. And that fear comes with a lack of knowledge and with what people are seeing. When we speak about legacy companies and good business owners, most of them are lacking the knowledge of Web 3. And that knowledge will be built by thinking first decentralized. See, in Web 2, we are fully centralized, and the thinking and personality and everything is built on centralized. So the first thing is they should think decentralized. And second option is they need to see the interaction between the customer and the engagement. First, if the customer is very engaged and they think about Web 3 industry, because Web 3 is, the customers are very engaged and they can put their advice, they can tokenize it, you know about the customers. And I believe that in Web 2 industry, they should do the same thing. They need to move, but first with the knowledge. And you spoke about finance. That finance is very important for the Web 2 business owners. And we need to give them a proper way that how they can join Web 3 and what is this finance can be taught to them. Not just as a business owners in Web 2, they just know Web 3 as a trading and Bitcoin. That's it.
Yeah, that's true. And I think, you know, one of the major markets today, obviously gaming is one of the industries leading the way, let's be fair. And the very interesting factor over there is that jump. The customers, I mean, especially today, you know, the next generation of customers, most of the 18 to 21-year-olds today, they're growing up into this world, which are going to be your future customers, as Web3 being a very normal, let's say, part of e-commerce. This is how it is. And I think one of the most interesting facts is you still have this major divide in all industries. I'm using gaming as a reference, and I want to talk about sports because that's really interesting. But you know, you still have the Web 2 and the Web 3 guys, and there's kind of like this really thick wall between them, you know, and I think regulation is key. You mentioned finance as well. The old world, the old finance world, the banks, they're still scared of it. So, I mean, my next question, Dmitry, I want to shift to you a little bit because I know this is your bread and butter. You know, when do we see this revolution? We're in the middle of the Web 3 revolution, but when does it become mainstream? When do, you know, the old world brick and mortar banks accept Web3 finance. I want to start a project in gaming. Imagine a bank giving a loan in crypto. Do we actually see that happening within the next 2 to 5 years?
You know, if you go back in time and you think about, you know, the credit cards and, you know, the way how cash kind of went back from the people's lives, I think people are always skeptic. And a part of that is a decentralization of it, right? If you think that my money is somewhere, I don't know where, it's not in the bank, it's somewhere in the clouds, people are getting scared, right? You know, the same process was with cash and credit cards, all of that. I think the main issue here right now is the lack of education. And when people, don't know something, they become scared of it, right? So if you can ask me a question, whether this is going to happen in the next 2 years or 3 years, I think the more education we put back into masses, the faster this will come. But if you look on the companies who are actually doing education, there are not this many of them, right? And you know, there's been like all these crypto exchanges, you know, they invested into like, you know, the brand marketing, they try to educate the user, but it's still not enough, right? If you can compare the size of, you know, Web3 industry and all the technologies in terms of their market cap, in terms of, you know, the amount of companies there are in the market in general, it's not enough still, right?
But you actually mentioned something really interesting, and here's the funny part, and I think adoption is one of them. You said they're scared, where is their money? But is your money really in your brick and mortar bank? And how many stories do we hear today? You go to a brick and mortar bank, they don't want to give you cash. That's the reality. So is it correct to say that your cash or your money is more available in the Web3 space than it is in the brick and mortar space?
It's not, but you know, the banks educated people the way that the money are safe, right? So this is the narrative. The people and the technological, all these companies in Web3, they still need to build it, right? And in fact, it's some cases, it's even more safe because the money really belongs to you rather than some third-party bank. And you said, like, if you go and you want to get your cash, there might be not an out of cash at some point, right?
Well, that's exactly it. And I think that was the basis of understanding how finance is changing, you know, the gaming space. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about sports because we know the sports and sportsbook industries are changing rapidly. I mean, look at what Chili's and Socios has done for sports clubs, and the introduction of Web3 finance has brought a much larger audience to the sportsbook world. You know, Dino running one of the largest sportsbooks in the world. I'd love to know, you know, your take on Web3. Is that something that's being adopted into the sports products?
Good morning, by the way. Good morning to everyone. I am Dinos. We do sports betting solution. It's interesting to discuss about Web3, especially from an old man perspective. You know, I do remember with my colleague Panos, probably it was Web0 that time, that we were trying to find information around, or we had just to put information. Let's talk about life before to connect Web3. Imagine that in the early 2000, you wanted to have a birth certificate, you have just to go, hi Sergey, you have just to go to the authority to ask physically for a birth certificate. Nowadays, you have just to go online to get your birth certificate, and you get it. But the authority has to certify that you are born. In Web3, for those who understand, is just if the audience out there say that you are born, it means you have a birth certificate. Much easier. So now going this to our industry, let's transform it to our industry. What is Web3? We deliver the sports. What does it mean? It's sports content. Imagine every game from Chile to Japan, you need to have every single information. What is happening in real life, in the stadium, in 2 seconds. In 2 seconds. How that was done 15 years ago. I was on the radio listening 6 games at the same time to try to find the information on time. What's happening now? There is an accredited person in the stadium that will send you a beep when there is a goal, another sound when there is a red card, but it's the authority that gives you this data. And we have to pay a lot. And this comes the finances. So let's say if this is 2.0, it's expensive. It's very expensive. What Web3 promising? It's promising a much better quality information for free. It will change dramatically if it happens. However, the system will resist. In US, you cannot get any data. You cannot work at all if you don't pay. The Web 2.0 will be there for many years. When the users take the control, it will be a matter of time. It's already happening, in my opinion. You say 2-3 years. It's already happening in early stages, in many aspects, I think. It's happening. If it will work and become the majority, only time will tell.
It's very interesting you mentioned that, because isn't that the whole point of centralized governance, that they wish to maintain control? You mentioned a really interesting aspect over there. I remember when I was doing risk at Betfair, we used to watch 10, 15 satellite feeds and input that data. Now, this was not 15 years ago.
That was the radio.
That actually was 15 years ago. We had satellite feeds, and the only way to make up that data, because we had no other source, was to give the customer massive delays. So we would do a 30-second delay on the assumption that that's what we had from the satellite provider. So again, Web3 is changing the game, but I think as long as there is a central body owning, operating that form of entertainment, they will always strive to hold on to it. But the masses are rebelling.
It remains to be seen. But it's promising a good quality at much better price.
Exactly. And
that's it.
The idea behind it is also accuracy and transparency. I think this is one of the key factors. I want to switch a little bit because there's a lot of topics in this panel that I want to talk about. But Amir, you mentioned a good one as well, and it probably, Dino, this is something that you'd bring up. NFTs, we had a big hype. We had a big hype about financing gaming businesses through NFTs. This was the last 2 to 3 years. You mentioned it in our earlier discussions. It also played a big part in sports. Dinos, I know you remember the Panini cards and how everything is now going
Maybe the
NFT.
gentleman want to comment. I have for NFT a fantastic story to say, but let's come later on that.
But hasn't NFTs introduced a new angle for financing entertainment forms in sports? I mean, Panini cards were very popular when I was a kid. We've now revolutionized them with NFTs. The NFT hype has plateaued of sorts, but Amir, what's your take? What's the next step on using NFTs to finance the gaming industry?
We can look at a good example as Chili's. What Chili's have done to the football industry, I would say. They interacted the fans and the soccer clubs together with NFTs, as you can have your favorite player's NFT, and the value of that player will go overnight. Huge gap. And it's the matter of tokenization when we speak about the NFTs industry. And again, based on what I have said, the NFTs was a huge interaction with the customer and the Web3 industry from the legacy companies as a Web2. And I think it was a good jump, as a good bridge for the Web2 to jump to the Web3 with NFTs. And when we speak about sport industry with NFTs, I think Chili's have done amazing, but now Chili's was old era. You should see it as the new era, what they brought to the table. And now with the new platforms, I can see is that the customer can have the NFT and there's a use case for that NFT. And that's NFT point 2. Let's see what's the third version of it. I'm very interested to see the new era for it.
Well, that's really interesting because we're actually working on something quite similar. Sorry. Can you hear me? Yeah. We're working on something quite similar at the moment where customers can actually hold NFTs, and that kind of unlocks the status of VIP. And that VIP status would open up the doors to better rewards, better bonuses.
Exclusive contents
which is what's happening. And then you can actually make that NFT. I mean, how you want to display it is up to you. The privilege of the NFT is what the goal is. I know, Dmitry, again, your bread and butter. What's your take on VIP systems and financing through NFTs?
I think it's a great idea, and there are not many companies actually thinking about it. I think, if you go step back and you think about how that loyalty is actually being created. A person is being attached to the brand, to the product, and when he has something which is bringing him back and giving him a piece of ownership, this creates a better loyalty and a better connection at the end of the day. If you think about, celebrities, right, at some point, all of them, they have massive followings, and they're launching all these incredibly successful products. George Clooney with his tequila, Logan Paul with his prime drink. So they have a massive following, and by monetizing their status, by monetizing their audience, they're making such an incredible product. So I think if you think about the casino in the same manner, when you give your audience a little bit of something which gives them that ownership and the feeling of being attached to the brand more, it creates a better connection, I think. So I haven't seen really good successful examples of NFTs in gaming yet. So maybe this will be you guys who will try to do something. But what I think can be done is, if you look, like Chili's is a great example. There is a lot of companies like So Rare, for example, with all this fancy trading sportsman cards. If you think about that in a way where, let's say, you wanna spin, right? Like, boom, there you go, like a card of a golden spin. You can use it as a power up at some point. Maybe if you stack them, it creates you like levels in your loyalty program, etc. So if you think about the amount of opportunities you got for NFTs, like better monetization, better retention, better engagement, they're endless. And I'm still not getting why there are not these many companies actually moving into that direction. I think the possibility is still there.
Dmitry, maybe you allow me that I will make the example, not with George Clooney. I'll try LeBron James, if you don't mind. So, for instance, what is happening today? This is a reality. You have your mobile, and the next 30 seconds, LeBron James to have a three-pointer. You can bet on that. Imagine the future. On the top of that, you have the streaming, real, you're watching the game in real time, no delay. You have the bet, and you get the NFT right on time that LeBron scores the critical basket to win the game. That is not happening 100% now, it's happening, you cannot watch it real time. But it will happen, and it will be valuable. It's coming. If you can see it, it's very clear example. No doubt it will pay off. How much this valuable is depends how popular it is, depends the audience. For example, talking about Middle East, just to connect a bit, it is sports. I understand that many people really say esports, blah, 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 but football. In these countries here, we're talking about football. And this is what it is. And then connecting with that, yes, they would like to find a nice way how this culture adapts the whole story in order to move forward to the future.
Sounds like a new product idea for me.
Well, let's do that. Okay.
And that's very interesting. I know we don't have that much time left, but it does circle back to the idea of reviving finance. I mean, ultimately, creating these products, creating NFTs, using Web3, brings in a brand new audience. It brings in a new customer base, and it removes a lot of bureaucracy. This is ultimately the goal. Once upon a time, Web3, blockchain, crypto was used as a means to bank the unbankable. In today's market, you walk into the bank, you want to make a deposit, you have a very high possibility of being declined, even businesses. Web3 changed that. Crypto wallets changed that. And I think it is those businesses operating in the gaming space like Stake, like Rollbit, who've really taken advantage of that customer base. They've removed the bureaucracy, and it is changing the game. And I think, if you're not on that trajectory, you're probably going to get left behind. Just to add, you actually said something really interesting because, today there is value in moments.
Yes.
If, what was it, 6 months ago? Somebody minted the first tweet.
No,
that went for a fortune. My point is, these moments will start being captured. In a virtual world, we'll start capturing them.
Life is seconds. Life is a few
100%.
seconds.
So
that's it.
Before we close off, because I know Lily's going to tell us our time's up quite soon, what would you say? Closing statements, the next beautiful thing in sports, what is it?
I think there's the fast things. Seconds, guys. We're going for seconds. No one watching a 2-hour game anymore waiting for results. Unfortunately, even myself, you know, we just have to go for seconds. Everything is fast. That's it.
Fantastic. Amir, ideas, what's the next big thing that the audience would love to hear about?
They should always be ahead of the game. Because the good thing about Web3, the competition is very high. And when I speak about the competition, a competitor is always ahead of you. We might live in 2023, but your competitor are in 2026, 2027. So you should always think about the future. And the good thing about Web3, there is no barrier. Everything is possible. Everything.
Dmitry, ideas?
Yeah, I'm here with Dino, by the way. You know, I think it comes down to speed. We don't have an out of time these days, right? No one's going to watch like 5 hours cricket game, 2-hour football game. No one wants that.
Does anybody watch
speed.
5-hour cricket game?
I'm voting for speed. We really need to have faster content, faster form of content, better sports. You know, more entertainment, more action.
Even worse, 2 hours movie, that's not possible.
Yeah.
I fell asleep.
I started breaking them into batches now. Look, but I just want to say thank you to SiGMA. It's been great to talk about the subject. I know it's a big subject and there's a lot more to go on. I appreciate everyone's time. I hope you enjoy the rest of the show, and I want to say thank you to the panelists. Thank you very much.
A big round of applause, everyone, and Oliver as well, our amazing moderator.